The space station, Orion 12, was silent that night. Most workers were asleep, and only a few lights were on in the long, empty halls. The air hummed with the soft sound of old machines. Everything looked normal. Everything looked peaceful, except for one strange thing that a human janitor named Mark Turner was about to discover. Mark was a simple man. A single dad, tired, quiet, and always working night shifts. He cleaned floors, fixed broken things, and kept the station running while others slept. For him, this night was supposed to be normal, just another long shift, just another lonely walk with his cleaning cart. But as he pushed his cart down corridor C-17, he stopped suddenly. He heard something, a sound he had never heard before, a soft crying, very soft, almost like the whimper of a small child. But it wasn't human. The sound had a strange echo, like it came from inside a metal pipe or faraway cave. Mark frowned. What was that? He looked around. The hallway was empty. Only the small warning lights blinked on the walls. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he imagined it. Then he heard it again. A tiny voice. Weak. Scared. Help. Mark's heart jumped. He slowly reached for his flashlight and followed the sound. It was coming from an old storage room. Room B-07. A room that was not used anymore. The gate had rust on it, and the lock was half broken. No one should be inside. Mark swallowed and unlocked the door. The room was dark. Dust floated in the air. Broken boxes were everywhere. It looked empty. But then he heard breathing. Very small, very fast. Mark took a step forward and lifted his flashlight. In the corner, behind a metal crate, something moved. Something small. Something glowing. He walked closer, and that's when he saw her. A small alien creature curled on the floor, like a child trying to stay warm. Her skin was light blue, with faint silver lines glowing like tiny stars. She had delicate wings folded against her back, wings like a dragon, but soft, not dangerous. Her eyes were large, bright, and wet with tears. She was shaking. Mark froze. He had worked at Orion 12 for years and had seen many alien races, but never this one. The little alien girl stared at him with fear. When she tried to speak, her voice trembled. "Yes, sir. I can't eat." Mark lowered his voice, trying not to scare her. "Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you. What are you doing here? Are you lost?" The girl hugged her small arms around herself. She looked fragile, like she hadn't eaten in days. I don't know. My ship, it broke. My family, they're gone." Her voice cracked as she spoke. "I can't eat the food here. I will die soon." Mark felt his stomach twist. He didn't understand everything, but he understood enough. This child had no one, no family, no help, no food, and she was starving. He slowly crouched down, making his posture smaller, less scary. "What's your name?" he asked softly. She hesitated. Her glowing silver eyes looked confused, as if she wasn't sure she could trust him. "Lyra," she finally whispered. Mark smiled gently. "Lyra, that's a beautiful name." She blinked in surprise, as if no one had ever said something kind to her before. Mark looked around the room. No food, nothing useful, nothing she could eat. Station food was mostly processed, synthetic packs. Maybe her species couldn't eat synthetic food. Then Mark remembered something. He had his dinner box in his cart. He was going to eat later, during break. It wasn't much, just a cheap slice of pizza. But maybe... Mark stood up and walked back to his cart. Lyra watched him with wide, fearful eyes. She probably thought he was leaving her behind, but he returned with a small box in his hand. He sat down on the floor, not too close to her, and opened the box. A warm smell filled the cold room. Pizza. Mark saw Lyra's eyes widen again, but this time with confusion, not fear. He said quietly, I don't know if you can eat this. Maybe you can't. But you're hungry, and this is all I have. Lyra looked at the pizza slice like it was a glowing artifact. She licked her dry lips but shook her head. Sir, I can't eat. Her voice shook. I don't want to die, but I can't eat alien food. Mark pushed the slice a little closer, but still kept distance, so she didn't feel threatened. Maybe just try, he said. Just one small bite. For me. Lyra closed her eyes. Her tiny body shivered. She slowly reached out her small clawed hand and touched the warm crust. Her fingers trembled. She lifted it to her mouth. Her teeth gently took the smallest bite. Mark waited. Lyra's eyes slowly opened wide. Her wings twitched. She took another bite. Then another. Color returned to her face. The glowing lines on her skin brightened. A small tear fell from her eye. It works, she whispered. I can eat this. I can eat your food. For the first time, she gave a tiny, weak smile. Mark exhaled with relief. But before he could say anything, Lyra suddenly looked toward the door with terror. Her glow dimmed again. They're coming, she whispered. The hunters, they followed me. And the lights in the hallway flickered. The alarm lights did not blink. The doors did not open. But Mark felt it, a soft vibration on the floor. Like something large, something dangerous had landed on the outer shell of the station. Lyra felt it too. She dropped the last piece of pizza from her shaking hands. Her wings folded tight against her back. Her glowing silver lines turned dull and dark. She whispered only one word. Hide! But Mark didn't move. His mind raced. He didn't know who was coming. He didn't know what they wanted. But he knew one thing. They were here for this child. Lyra grabbed Mark's sleeve with her tiny claws. Please! Please don't let them take me. They will break me. They will use me. Her voice was shaking, but her eyes were begging. Mark, a simple janitor with no weapon and no training, felt something heavy in his chest. Fear, anger, and something else he didn't expect, the need to protect her. He placed his hand gently on her head. Lyra, I won't let anyone hurt you. Before Lyra could answer, the room lights flickered once, twice, and then the station speakers produced a strange static. KKRRSHHH. Unidentified signal detected. KKRRSHHH. Accessing. Then a voice. Cold. Metallic. Inhuman. We have detected the dragon child. Lyra covered her ears and curled into a ball. Mark stood up straight, heart pounding hard. Dragon child? He whispered to himself. But there was no time to ask. Suddenly, somewhere far down the hallway, a door slammed open. The sound echoed like thunder across the metal corridors. Lyra's eyes filled with tears again. They can smell my energy. They will search every room. Mark quickly looked around the dusty storage room. He had only a cleaning cart, old boxes, a mop, and his own courage. But that was enough. He knelt down and spoke gently. Lyra, listen to me. You hide inside that big metal crate. Don't make a sound. Lyra shook her head. But they will take you if they find you. Mark forced a small smile. That's okay. I've been through worse. Trust me. Lyra looked at him silently. Then she crawled inside the crate, folding her wings and hugging her knees. Mark placed broken crates around the opening, making it look abandoned. The footsteps outside grew louder. Heavy, slow, deliberate, not human. The door lock clicked. Then, boom! The metal door flew open. 3 tall, armored alien hunters stepped inside, their helmets glowing with red scanning lights. They moved like shadows. Silent, cold, deadly. Their leader stepped forward and spoke in a dark, mechanical voice. The dragon child is here. Her energy signature is fresh. Mark stood in the middle of the room. No fear on his face, only determination. He lifted his mop like a weapon. Looking for someone? He said calmly. Silence returned to the broken storage room. But it was not calm. It was a silence that comes after danger, the silence that feels like a deep breath before the world breaks again. The hunters were gone. Mark had survived. Barely. His shoulder burned from where the alien's weapon had grazed him. His mop was broken in half. And his breath came fast, sharp, and painful. But he didn't care about any of that. He only cared about the small metal crate behind him. He tapped it gently. Lyra, it's safe now. For a moment, there was no answer. Then the crate shifted. The lid opened slowly, like a frightened animal peeking out. Lyra's glowing silver eyes appeared first. wide, afraid, searching. She climbed out, her small hands trembling. She saw Mark's injury and froze. You are hurt, she whispered. Mark gave a tired smile. I'm fine. You should see the other guys. Lyra didn't smile. She didn't laugh. Instead, she touched the wound on his arm with her tiny glowing fingers. Her touch was warm, almost healing. I caused this, she said softly. If I was not here, they would not come. You would not get hurt. Mark shook his head. No, you didn't cause anything. They chose to do this. Not you. Lyra looked confused, almost shocked, as if no one had ever told her she wasn't to blame. A soft hum came from her wings. A glow formed around her hands. For a moment, Mark felt the pain in his arm ease. But then Lyra quickly pulled her hand back, covering it with fear. No, I can't use my energy. If I heal you, they will smell my power again. They will come stronger next time. Mark frowned. How? How can they smell it? Lyra closed her eyes, and she finally began to speak, but not like a scared child anymore, like someone carrying a heavy secret. A long time ago, my people were hunted, she said softly, not because we are dangerous, not because we hurt anyone. Her voice dropped lower, sadder. We can create life. We can heal. We can grow stars. Mark blinked. Grow stars. Lyra nodded. Our energy is rare. It is old. It can change whole planets. We are called starborn dragons. She spread her wings slightly. For the first time, Mark saw the truth. The glowing silver lines on her skin were not random. They formed shapes, constellations, tiny maps of the night sky. Lyra continued. The hunters take our kind. They drain our energy. They use it to power weapons, to destroy worlds, to control star systems. Mark's stomach twisted. He finally understood. This is why they want you. Lyra hugged herself, her wings trembling. I escaped. My parents, they helped me run. They stayed behind so I could live. She swallowed hard. They didn't survive. Mark felt the room grow colder. He looked at the tiny child standing in front of him, alone, starving, hunted, terrified, and yet somehow carrying the power of stars inside her. She whispered, I should not have survived, Mark. I am the last starborn. If the hunters take me, the stars will go dark forever. Mark did not understand everything, but he understood one thing. Lyra wasn't just any alien child. She was something precious, something powerful, something worth protecting. He knelt down in front of her. Lyra, listen to me, he said quietly. You are not alone anymore. Lyra stared at him, eyes shining with tears. You would protect me? Even after everything? Mark nodded. I'm a janitor, not a soldier, not a hero, but I will protect you with everything I have. Lyra's breath caught. No one had ever said such words to her. She stepped forward and gently leaned her forehead against Mark's chest. A silent thank you. But the moment did not last. Suddenly, the lights in the hall turned red. A deep alarm began to echo through the station. Intruders detected. Energy anomaly rising. All crew report to safe zones. Lyra gasped. They found us again. They are scanning my energy even from far away. Mark stood up fast and grabbed his broken mop handle like a weapon. Then we move, he said. We don't hide anymore. We run. We stay ahead of them. Lyra nodded, wiping her tears. But then she whispered something Mark did not expect. Mark, my energy is growing. If it keeps rising, I might lose control. He turned to her slowly. What do you mean? Lyra's wings opened slightly, glowing brighter than before. If they push me too hard, I will explode like a star. Mark froze. Lyra looked up at him with terrified eyes. I don't want to hurt you. The station lights flickered. The hunters were coming again. And now, Mark knew the truth. Protecting Lyra was not just saving a child. It was saving the galaxy. The space station did not shake. It shuddered, like something had grabbed the outer hull with massive claws and was pulling the whole structure backward. Mark felt the vibration first through the floor, then through his bones. Lyra felt it even deeper. Her wings snapped open with fear, the glowing lines on her skin pulsing like a heartbeat. "They found us," she whispered. "No, worse. They brought the Hunter Prime." Mark didn't know what that meant, but judging by Lyra's face, it wasn't good. A sharp alarm screamed through the station. "Warning! Unauthorized ship docking. All personnel evacuate immediately." But Mark didn't run. He moved in front of Lyra. He didn't have a weapon, only a half-broken mop stick wrapped in tape. But he gripped it like it was a sword. Lyra tugged at his shirt. "Mark, they are not like the ones before," she said. "These ones do not search. They destroy." Before Mark could answer, a metallic thud echoed down the corridor. Then another, like heavy armored feet marching. But these footsteps weren't slow. They were hunting steps. Precise, sharp, hungry. A soft mechanical hiss filled the hallway, a sound like a giant machine inhaling. Mark turned Lyra toward a side hallway. "We move. Now." They ran. Mark pushed through narrow service corridors, places only janitors ever used. Pipes dripped water overhead. Emergency lights flickered red and white. Each flicker showed Lyra's frightened face next to him. Each flicker showed the broken mop handle in his hand. Then, a sudden crack exploded behind them. A wall panel tore apart like paper. From the hole, a tall, dark figure stepped out. A hunter, but not like before. This one was bigger, twice the height, covered in black armor, with glowing red veins. Its helmet had no face, only a smooth surface with a single slit of red light in the center. It scanned the hallway. Mark froze. Lyra clutched his arm with both her tiny hands. The hunter tilted its head, listening. Then it spoke with a voice that felt like metal grinding on bone. "Star Child detected." Mark pushed Lyra behind him. The hunter raised its arm. The weapon built into its wrist began to glow white-hot. Mark swallowed. He had no plan. No weapon. Nothing. But he stepped forward anyway. "Not today," he muttered. The hunter fired. A blazing pulse of energy screamed down the corridor. Lyra reacted first. Not with power. Not with magic. With fear. She jumped in front of Mark and spread her small wings. "No!" A tiny energy shield burst around her. Weak, unstable, shaking like a candle in the wind. The blast hit her shield. Boom! Dust exploded everywhere. The force knocked both Mark and Lyra backward. Mark hit the wall, coughing. Lyra landed beside him, trembling, her wings flickering with weak light. The hunter stepped forward, its voice colder than before. "The Star Child is damaged. Easy extraction." Mark forced himself to stand. "No," he said. "No, not while I'm still breathing." He lifted his mop stick. The hunter almost looked amused, even though its face had no expression. Mark charged. A human, a janitor, running at a giant alien killing machine with a mop stick. It was stupid. It was hopeless. It was brave. The hunter swung its arm to strike him, but suddenly a new sound pierced the hall. Rara! A huge mechanical door above the corridor burst open. Hot steam blasted downward. The hunter paused. Mark looked up. They were standing under the maintenance vent for Waste Disposal Unit 3, a place Mark knew better than anyone. He smiled. "Well, I cleaned this station," he muttered, "and I know its tricks." He slammed his hand down on the emergency release panel. Whoosh! A powerful suction force activated. Loose debris, broken metal, dust, and the hunter were dragged toward the waste chute. The hunter tried to stabilize itself with metal claws digging into the floor. Mark didn't give it the chance. He grabbed a leaking chemical tank from the ground and smashed it against the hunter's foot structure. The metal under it burned instantly. The hunter's grip slipped. And then, humph! The alien was sucked into the waste chute and launched into the deep disposal tunnels. Silence. Only the sound of the vent shutting down remained. Mark fell to his knees, breathing hard. Lyra crawled to him, her eyes wide. You saved me," she whispered. Mark looked at her gently. "No, we saved each other." But Lyra was not smiling. Her wings were glowing brighter. Too bright. She stared down at her shaking hands. Mark, my power is rising again, she whispered. If it goes higher, I will lose control. Mark stood up, grabbed her hand, and said, Then we find a way before that happens. Together. The corridor lights flickered again. Another sound grew in the distance. Not footsteps. A roar. Something far bigger than any hunter was arriving. The roar that echoed through the station did not sound like a machine. It sounded alive, ancient, hungry. Mark and Lyra stood in a narrow hallway filled with blinking red lights. The air around them vibrated like a storm was passing through metal. Dust fell from the ceiling. The temperature dropped. Lyra's wings tightened around her small body. That is not a hunter, she whispered. That is the prime beast. The hunters ride it. It smells starborn energy better than any machine. Mark tightened his grip on the broken mop handle. He looked at the child beside him, shaking, glowing, terrified. And he made a choice. A simple human choice. He would not run, even if every instinct told him to. The lights exploded, bursting one by one in a wave, like something enormous was moving closer. Black smoke crawled under the hallway doors. Metal panels rattled. The station groaned like it was being crushed from the outside. A deep growl rolled through the walls. Lyra covered her ears. Mark, please leave me. If they take me, you can still live. Mark looked down at her. His eyes were tired, yes, old, worn, human, but there was steel behind them. I'm not leaving you, he said. I already lost too much in my life. I'm not losing you too. Lyra shook her head. You don't understand. The prime beast cannot be stopped. Even my parents ran from it. You are only a human, a janitor. Mark cut her off. No. He stood tall. I am a father. Lyra blinked. Her breath caught in her throat. The hallway bent, literally bent, as something massive slammed into it from the other side. Metal screamed. Bolts flew. A giant claw punched through the wall, its black scales burning with red energy. Mark pushed Lyra gently behind him. He whispered, If it wants you, it has to get through me. The claw pulled back. The metal wall burst open. Crayish. The prime beast stepped inside. It was gigantic. A huge alien creature with 4 legs, sharp bone armor, and a head shaped like a dragon skull. Red energy veins pulsed inside its chest like lava. Its breath fogged the air. It sniffed. A low growl rumbled. Starborn. Lyra fell to her knees. Her glow flickered weakly. Mark stepped forward. Hey! His voice cracked but didn't break. You want her? Try me first. The prime beast turned its massive skull toward the human. Its red eyes narrowed. A single human, a janitor, standing in front of a star-eating monster. The beast lowered its head. Its breath washed over Mark, hot like fire, cold like death. Mark didn't flinch. He raised his mop handle, not as a weapon, as a symbol. Lyra whispered desperately behind him. Mark, please, you can't win. Mark smiled gently, without looking back. Maybe not, but winning isn't the point. Protecting you is. The prime beast roared. The sound crushed the hallway lights. Metal trembled. Lyra screamed and covered her ears. Mark held his ground, teeth clenched, body shaking. But he did not step back. Humans were small. Humans were weak. Humans were fragile. But humans had something the hunters never understood. Courage that made no sense. The prime beast lunged, and Mark charged forward to meet it. A human, with nothing, against everything. And that was exactly why the galaxy feared humans. The scream that followed did not come from Lyra. It came from the metal. The prime beast slammed Mark into the wall, so hard that the steel bent inward like soft clay. Sparks rained from broken wires. Mark's mop handle snapped into useless pieces. And for the first time in the entire night, Mark didn't stand back up. He slid down the wall and collapsed on the floor, breathing, barely. Lyra's eyes widened with pure horror. Mark! Her voice cracked. Mark, please, get up. But he didn't move. The prime beast lowered its skull toward him, ready to finish the job. Lyra screamed, a scream that shook the hallway. A scream filled with fear, loss, and something deeper, something ancient. Her small body trembled violently. The glowing lines on her skin started pulsing uncontrollably. Her wings snapped open so fast the air cracked around them. Inside her chest, a bright silver light flickered, weak but growing quickly. The prime beast paused. It tilted its massive head, sensing the change. Lyra fell to her knees beside Mark. She touched his face with shaking hands. "Please, get up," she whispered. "You can't leave me too. I can't lose you like I lost them. Please, Mark, please." A tear fell, but when it hit the floor, the ground glowed. The light inside Lyra snapped awake. Not slowly, not gently, violently, like a star exploding behind her ribs. Her glowing lines turned into blazing silver rivers running across her skin. Her wings expanded into massive shapes of pure energy, no longer soft or fragile, but sharp, bright, ancient. The air around her bent. Gravity twisted. The metal started floating. The prime beast stepped backward, for the first time showing fear. Lyra lifted her head slowly, tears still falling, but her eyes were no longer those of a scared child. They were the eyes of something old, something powerful, something the galaxy had hunted for centuries. A starborn dragon. Her voice echoed with layered tones, not one voice, but many. "Do not touch him." The prime beast roared, trying to crush her with sound. But Lyra raised her hand, and the roar broke in the air, shattering like glass. The beast tried again, charging forward with claws out. Lyra didn't move. She simply looked at the creature. Her gaze alone hit the monster like a blast. A shockwave erupted, blasting the prime beast backward. The entire corridor bent outward. Pipes burst. Lights exploded. The creature slammed into the far wall, cracking the metal with its weight. Lyra stood up. Her feet were not touching the floor anymore. Silver flames floated around her like tiny stars. Her hair lifted from her shoulders as if gravity had forgotten her. Every breath she took sent ripples of energy down the hall. Mark groaned softly. Barely alive, Lyra's rage spiked again. "You hurt him." Her glowing wings spread wider. "You tried to take everything from me." The prime beast tried to rise again. Lyra's voice boomed through the corridor. "No more." She lifted both hands. Silver energy surged from the floor, walls, ceiling. Everywhere, particles of light gathered in her palm, forming a giant star-like sphere. The prime beast screamed and launched forward in desperation. But it was already over. Lyra thrust her hand out. "Ka'aevum." A beam of pure star energy exploded from her, engulfing the creature. The blast tore through metal, claw, bone, armor, everything. The entire hallway lit up like a newborn sun. When the light faded, the prime beast was gone, completely erased. Only glowing dust remained in the air, drifting like quiet snow. Lyra collapsed to her knees again, breathing heavily. The bright aura slowly faded. Her wings shrunk back to small, trembling shapes. The glowing maps on her skin dimmed. She crawled weakly to Mark. The powerful star dragon was gone. Only the scared little girl remained. She placed her head on his chest and cried softly. "Please, wake up. I didn't mean to lose control. Please." Mark's fingers twitched. Her heart jumped. His eyes slowly opened. "Lyra?" he whispered. Lyra sobbed with relief. "You came back to me." Mark smiled weakly. "And you saved us." But before they could rest, the station's emergency lights turned blue. A new alarm echoed. "Warning! Energy event detected. Military ship approaching." Lyra looked at Mark with fear. "More hunters?" Mark shook his head. "No. Worse." The blue alarm didn't scream like danger. It whispered like judgment. A deep voice echoed through the station. "Human security force has arrived. All life forms freeze." Heavy footsteps shook the ground. Human soldiers in white armor marched through the broken corridors. Their helmets glowed with blue lights, their rifles humming with high-tech power. Mark pushed himself up with weak arms. Lyra held his hand tightly, hiding behind him like a small, frightened bird. For a moment, the war stopped. It was just a man and a child standing in a broken hall of metal and smoke. The soldiers surrounded them instantly. "Drop the alien!" one shouted. "Step away now!" another barked. Lyra flinched. Her small wings folded tight. Her glow dimmed to almost nothing. Mark stepped in front of her. "No," he said. The soldiers aimed their rifles. Dozens of barrels, all pointed at Mark's chest. The commander stepped forward. A tall woman with cold eyes. "We detected a massive energy wave," she said. "It could destroy a whole sector. That creature is too dangerous to keep alive." Lyra trembled. "I'm not a monster," she whispered. But the commander didn't care. "Move aside, Janitor. This is beyond your pay grade." Mark laughed weakly. Even bleeding, even exhausted, he laughed. "That's the problem," he said. "You think power decides who deserves to live." The commander frowned. "Excuse me?" Mark pointed at Lyra. "She's a child. Scared. Alone. Hunted." He shook his head. "I won't let you hurt her." The room went silent. The soldiers exchanged confused looks. No one had ever seen a janitor stand against a whole armed squad. The commander's voice turned cold. "You're risking your life for something you barely know." Mark looked down at Lyra. Her tiny hand clutched his shirt like it was the only safe thing in the universe. He spoke softly. "I know enough." Lyra looked up at him, eyes wet, glowing faintly. She whispered, "Mark, why?" Her voice, so small, it almost disappeared between the broken walls. Mark placed a hand on her head. "Because you reminded me why I became a father." Lyra's breath caught. Her wings fluttered gently, as if her heart had taken flight. The commander sighed, annoyed. "Fine. If you won't move, then you will be removed." She raised her hand. The soldiers aimed to fire. Lyra gasped. Her glow spiked. Her wings opened. Mark stepped in front of her again, arms spread. "No!" Lyra screamed. "Don't hurt him, please." Before the soldiers could shoot, a wave of silver light burst across the hall. Not from Lyra, from the air itself. The station trembled as a holographic symbol formed above them, a symbol made of stars. A voice echoed everywhere, ancient and soft. "The starborn child has chosen a guardian." Everyone froze, even the commander. The star symbol descended slowly and touched Mark's chest. It sank into him like light turning into breath. Mark's eyes widened. A warm, gentle power filled him, not violent, not dangerous. It felt like hope. Lyra stared in shock. You were accepted," she whispered. "No human has ever been chosen before." Mark felt something soft wrap around his wrist. He looked down. Lyra had taken his hand. She whispered, "Mark, you are my guardian now. My family." Mark smiled gently. "I already was." The soldiers lowered their weapons, confused. The commander finally spoke, voice shaking. "What does that mean?" Lyra answered for the first time without fear. "It means," she said, stepping beside Mark, "no one can take me away from him." Mark placed a hand on her shoulder. "But we can't stay here," he said. "They will come again, bigger, stronger. The hunters won't stop." Lyra nodded. "I know, and I will become stronger too." Mark looked at her with soft pride. "Together," he said. "Together," she repeated, her wings glowing faint silver. The commander looked at both of them, then stepped aside. "Go," she said quietly, "before the higher orders arrive." Mark gently lifted Lyra into his arms. She leaned against his chest, small but burning with starfire inside her. The corridor lights flickered slowly as they walked toward the docking bay. A human, a janitor, and a tiny alien dragon child. A new family, a new legend, a new beginning. And far in the dark space outside the station, 2 Red Hunter ships woke up from silent orbit. Mark whispered gently to Lyra, "Looks like our journey is just starting." Lyra smiled softly. "With you, I'm not afraid." And the screen fades to black.